In 1997, the Project for the New American Century was founded by a small group of neocons. A few years later, they published Rebuilding America's Defenses. In the intro, they wrote, "At present, the United States faces no global rival. America's grand strategy should aim to preserve and extend this advantageous position as far into the future as possible. For peace, of course." They acknowledged the difficulty in seeing this realized unless something drastic were to happen. In their words, the process of transformation, even if it brings revolutionary change, is likely to be a long one, absent some catastrophic and catalyzing event, like a new Pearl Harbor. 1 year later, 2 planes took down 3 buildings at freefall speed in New York City. The following month, the so-called Patriot Act was signed into law, and the never-ending war on terrorism kicked off.
You never want a serious crisis to go to waste.
Never let a crisis, whether real or manufactured, go to waste. That's what the upstanding employees at the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, or FinCEN, are trying to do. They're making the case that use of any privacy functionality in crypto need be reported under the guise of stopping terrorism. Cited as justification is Section 311 of the USA Patriot Act. In their press release, the geniuses at FinCEN call it a new regulation to enhance transparency in convertible virtual currency, or CVC, mixing and combat terrorist financing. They give as examples the latest boogeyman of the U.S. regime and its accomplices.
It's very clear this proposal was in the works long before the conflict in the Middle East broke out, but it's also very clear that they quickly pivoted and are trying to take advantage of this conflict to use it to get this proposal through.
If their proposal gets implemented, FinCEN seeks to mandate or deputize tens of thousands of businesses to surveil, monitor, and report when a transaction is used or is suspected to have used a CVC. Just what is a CVC mixer, you ask? According to the brains at FinCEN, the term CVC mixer means any person, group, service, code, tool, or function that facilitates CVC mixing, which they acknowledge is quite broad, though they say, given the nature of CVC mixing, FinCEN deems the breadth of this definition to be necessary.
They're saying that these few people who are using these tools now mean that everyone who uses these tools should be punished.
But despite making sweeping claims about the need to surveil and amass data to combat terrorism due to Hamas and others, FinCEN doesn't provide any specific figures of crypto support that entities supposedly netted. Instead, they cite blockchain analysis firm that courts government agencies as clients. As Chainalysis is such a key ally for the studs at FinCEN, let's look a bit more at that outfit. Earlier this year, they released their crypto crime report. In it, it's claimed that the source of 85% of illicit crypto sent to mixers is stolen funds. Well, that seems like an easy fix for individuals to move their holdings off centralized custodial services. Later, a graph depicts total crypto by type. 2 things to note. First, the biggest slice in 2022 is from sanctions. At least they're fair enough to mention that this was due to OFAC's zealous campaign against Tornado Cash and others. And second, there's almost nothing in the terrorism financing slice. And lastly, here's another graph. According to Chainalysis, less than 0.25% of all crypto transactions involve such coins. I wonder how that compares to Federal Reserve notes. Actually, that is something that the fine FinCEN peeps know about. A 2020 leak of thousands of documents from FinCEN, which came to be known as the FinCEN files, shows that FinCEN was complacent about billions of dollars in, quote, dirty money moving through global banking institutions. Returning to FinCEN's mission statement, things are now a bit more clear. To safeguard the financial system, they just mean protect business as usual and work to thwart any threats to the legacy financial system, hence this proposal. As Seth for Privacy noted, the drastic steps governments are taking shows that they're feeling threatened. Indeed, as Joel Valenzuela headlined a recent thread on X, the crypto crackdown is here. His call to action, we have to get into hard work mode. That means not just building new tools and expanding our user base, but looking inward to remove any vestiges of fragility. Offhand, 2 things seem like low-hanging fruit. The fact that our core development team is incorporated in the US does not bode well. And the fact that our masternode network operates using cleartext does not bode well. A solution to the former was broached in a previous Incubator Weekly episode, and a solution to the latter was broached by XK during his presentation at the Dash Retreat. Seth for Privacy thinks the cryptocurrency world will split into 2 separate economies, one that functions as an add-on to the traditional finance and compliance regime, and one that acts as an independent and self-sustaining circular economy. Sounds good. Let's make it happen.
We're on the right side of history here, and those that are looking to destroy and ban these freedom tech tools, they're on the wrong side of history.
Absolutely.
Dang. I like it when things include both a problem and a solution. Don't you, Ryan? Well, there's nothing more important than the solutions for sure, but you first have to identify the correct problems to be solving, I think. So they're both important.
Right on. Well, today we are talking about one of the more fun solutions in the Dash space currently, which is how do I trade from one crypto to another crypto, and also how do I earn on crypto outside of, well, in the case of Dash, outside of the masternode system, how do I earn on my Dash in a permissionless setting? So we're here to talk about the Maya protocol. So you have been digging into this decentralized exchange system pretty heavily recently. Is that right, Rion?
Yeah, I've got the bug, I guess you could say, with decentralized exchanges in general and why they're so important. And so I have been digging quite a bit into Maya, into Thorchain before that, because I think it's so important that we build this infrastructure, and not just the infrastructure, but we transition people to being to using decentralized exchanges over centralized exchanges first and foremost, where the DEX isn't considered, the second thought to the Coinbases or the Binances or the Krakens of the world, where rather we are thinking primarily about DEXs and then secondarily about centralized exchanges if and when we have that need to go into government bankster coin kind of realm that unfortunately is still necessary to live a life for most people. But our job is to build the tools and the infrastructure so that we can move away from that world and move into, like the intro said, freedom technologies, building those out and making them as user friendly as possible so that we don't have to really have an ideological conversation with people. We just show them a tool that works better for them in their lives. And that way, that's how we will that's the biggest security that we can have, is a strong user base of people who just love the technology and love the use of a technology rather than having an ideological requirement for it. I'm personally in that camp where I'm very ideological and that drives me, but most people aren't. So we need to build those solutions for them.
So what kind of solutions will you be showing us or previewing for us today? What in particular could help move something such as Maya into something that someone would want to use because it is genuinely useful for their lives, and not because, oh, I'm trying to stay away from centralized exchanges because centralized exchange is bad?
Yeah, well, I hate to disappoint right away because I don't have any demos or anything like that particularly prepared. I mostly wanted to have a conversation about Maya and DEXs, just again because I want to repeat to the Dash community and anybody else who's watching how important this is to me. Like they say, a lot of times people will need 6 or 7 touch points to a certain thing to start even being interested in it. And so if anybody hasn't noticed, we have done quite a few shows on Maya already. I think we've done 3 on Maya. So we did our first show, as I was looking back on it, was about 8 or 9 months ago when we were first introducing the concept. I think we maybe had done something about Thorchain before that, but no, I don't think we had. And then another one 5 months ago, and then another one 3 months ago. And so it's about time 3 months ago to do another just refresher about where we are and where we're going with Maya. And like I said, I don't have anything done or anything prepared to present. It's just more of a conversation that I wanted to have with you, Amanda, because I know that you have some questions still. And I think that your questions could be useful for other people who are in your position where they've heard about Maya now and they are kind of interested in it, but they still have a lot of questions about it.
Okay.
So
I guess I can tell my story a little about, so when I first understood Maya to have added Dash and for there to have been functionality there, I went to look into LPing. This would have been, I don't know, 2 or 3 months ago. I don't know. And then I don't know if I saw a graphic on X or where I saw it on Maya. I don't know where I saw it, but it was a comparison of the AP, I don't know if it's called APY or APR, of the various coins on Maya's LPs, and it said, you know, this one's earning this percent, this one's earning this percent, and then it said like Dash earning 0%. And so I thought, yeah, probably not going to do that. So I just figured it was because there was like too little liquidity there, and so there was nothing to be earned, like a chicken and egg problem. I don't know. Okay, and then fast forward to just 2 weeks ago or something, and now people are blowing up Dash Twitter, saying stuff like, oh, like LPing annual yields are nearing 40 or 50%. This is insane. Like, jump in and get this fat stacks of duffs. And so I genuinely have no idea what's going on or where even to find accurate information as far as earnings in LP.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's a good time to transition to my screen share, just so that people can have an idea of what we're talking about and thinking about and looking at. This is mayascan.org, and this shows the liquidity pools. So also, if people have questions, I want people to ask their questions about Maya, particularly if they have concerns or whatnot, so that we can address those from the audience as well. But liquidity pools, this is like the bread and butter of how decentralized exchanges work, is you have a series of liquidity pools where each of the liquidity pools is one asset paired with cacao. And cacao is the native token in the Maya decentralized exchange. So you'll see here the top liquidity pool, these are ordered by liquidity, which is measured in any unit that you want, but here it's measured in US dollars. So you can see here the cacao Rune liquidity pool has $34 million in it, and it shows an APR like you were talking about, Amanda, as well. And then here's the Bitcoin cacao liquidity pool with $15 million, and I'll bump this up a little bit here.
Wait, so there's more Dash than Bitcoin on Maya?
No, we haven't talked about Dash yet. I'm getting there. But
sorry.
Yeah, like the Bitcoin pool has 15 million total, and that's comprised of 7.5 million on each side, $7.5 million of Bitcoin, $7.5 million of cacao, and they're equal in value. And it's maintained that way programmatically to be equal in value. Now, as we scroll down here, you see, so Rune, that's the other DEX. That's the token for the Thorchain DEX. So is
that the Rune and cacao pair? Is that the way one can go from the Thorchain ecosystem to the Maya ecosystem via that pair?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, but for this purpose, you can just think of it as a token that has a high liquidity because of whatever reasons. Okay. But you have Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then Kuji was the second native coin added to Maya, and it's taken 4th place in terms of the size of the liquidity pool at 1.5 million. And here you scroll down further and you have Tether and Dash finally, which we're approaching $1 million in liquidity, and you can see 67% APR, and that's the number that you were, I think, referring to, where you saw it initially at 0, but now it's something very high. And if we keep scrolling down here, you can see there are a few others here, USDC, and then this wrapped staked ETH thing. And actually, it does have an APR now, but before, like a couple days ago, it was also showing 0. And that's just to say that, like, before it has 30 days worth of data to back it, I think they just defaulted to showing 0%, even though there probably was more than 0, because it was less than 30 days old when you saw the Dash one at 0, and this one was a couple days ago, 0. Now that it has 30 days worth of trading volume, it shows a number here. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that was mostly just an artifact of how people show. MayaScan in particular was showing, or maybe the other ones as well, like Eldorado was showing.
Okay.
APR.
Well, but that just leads me to the question now of, is that like, that's a real number? Like if I put $100 worth of Dash into Maya. Okay, so first of all, does it all stay in Dash or whatever crypto I use? Or I want to say I watched a tutorial where it divides it in half and puts half into Cacao and keeps half in Dash. So how does that work?
So yeah, let's say that the most common user experience from people in Dash would probably be that you have some Dash, let's just say 100 Dash for a nice easy round number, and you want to put it in one of these liquidity pools. What it will do under the hood is it will convert half of your 100 Dash into Cacao. So you will have 50 Dash that's native Dash and 50 Dash that has been converted into Cacao, and now they're equal value. And then you're exposed to the price fluctuations of both of those assets while in the pool. And that percentage that you're seeing there is basically the gain of your share in the pool. So it would be half and half as far as I understand. But then when you pull that out, if you added to that pool just Dash, you would only just be able to pull Dash back out. So while you're in the pool, you're exposed to the price action of both of those tokens. And when you pull it back out, then you get whatever you put in, which was in our example, which was Dash. So whether it turns out to be exactly 66% or not, one thing to remember about these numbers is that those numbers are looking back the past 30 days. They're not looking forward, and they're not really even like an instantaneous rate that you're getting right now at this moment. It's literally the amount that your share has gone up in value, that your share of the pool has gone up in value over
in dollar value, not in. So it's not like if that same performance continued without any change for the next year, that I would have earned 67 Dash on my initial 100 Dash. Or is it? I guess is it denominated? Is the percent denominated in USD or in one of the tokens?
That's a good question. I believe it's denominated in liquidity units, LP units as it's called, and that is a 50-50 share of the asset and Cacao. But I would have to check with one of the Maya guys. But one thing to keep in mind here is that this percentage, that will never go below 0, because so essentially what it is when people are swapping in that pool, whether it's like Bitcoin to Dash or something that's going through Dash, Dash to Bitcoin, people are paying fees to do that. And it's those fees that are adding up and increasing the value of your liquidity position. You can think of it as like a little bit of like a small company that has shares, and each of these pools has a certain amount of shares. And then when the value of the pool goes up, then everybody that has a share of that pool, their value goes up as well.
And the value of the pool being determined just by the basic trading value of the two paired coins.
Say again.
The value of the pool being determined by the price of both coins in the pool. The price per unit of. Or
Yeah.
no, is the value of the pool more determined by how much people are willing to pay to trade that pair? I'm just wondering, when you say the value of the pool, what value is that?
Just the value of of both of the assets. But I don't want to talk too much about this specific number, because I might have the verbiage that I'm using might not be exactly correct. So I don't want to talk too much about that anymore. But one thing I did want to mention that I didn't actually mention in the intro, why, like, my motivation for pushing this integration and this, like, it's I can imagine somebody might be like, okay, this is a Dash show, not a Cacao Pool show or a Maya show, but we're talking about Maya quite a bit. The reason for this is if you take a step back and just look at how Dash is perceived in the whole crypto market, what do most people look at when they are thinking about the viability and the success of a project? What comes to mind that people look at the most?
Coin market cap ranking. Yeah,
exactly. And coin market cap ranking is a product of two things. It's the amount of coins that you have in circulation multiplied by the price of that thing. And the price of that thing is right now determined by centralized exchanges. And I have this, I'm torn between these two thoughts. One thought is that our price is 100% honest and completely accurate picture of the value of this project, and there's nothing wrong going on. It's 100%, market driven pricing. But the thing to remember is that when prices are determined, that price signal is coming from an exchange, and right now it's coming from centralized exchanges. So when you see the price of Dash, it's always associated with a certain exchange. And so people that are a little bit more experienced in cryptocurrency will know that there isn't just one price of Dash. There's many prices of Dash, and they generally tend to be pretty close to each other on the market. Like, you might see one exchange saying that the price of Dash is $30 per Dash, and another exchange might say $32 per Dash, and another one might say 31, and they're all pretty close, but nonetheless, there are different prices on the market. And being that centralized exchanges have so much more volume than decentralized exchanges. Decentralized exchanges are really a thing of the past 2 or 3 years. It seems like they really have come to be. But in the future that I want is a future where the price of any asset is determined mostly by the decentralized exchange price, and not the price that Coinbase is showing, or the price that Binance is showing, or the price that Kraken is showing, but the price that you see quoted on, like, some Bloomberg News TV show is the price that they're getting from, let's say, the Maya exchange against a stable coin like USDT or something like that, or USDC. And that price dominates, and that the other prices of centralized exchanges are trying to meet that price, instead of decentralized exchanges seeing a price on Coinbase and then saying, oh, I'm lower than that, or I'm higher than that, I should arbitrage and make the price closer to the centralized exchange. It's this concept of price discovery and price setting, like, which the one that has the highest volume is the one that's considered more true. And so I didn't finish my thought about the other side of my thinking. Like, the one side was that these prices that we're getting from centralized exchanges, they're completely honest. The other side is that these prices could very well be manipulated. Like, if Binance has...
What do you mean by that? Yeah.
we're literally trusting Binance and Kraken and Coinbase to give us an honest number of what the price is. And we honestly don't know.
So are you suggesting that they could possibly be selling Dash or any asset, any digital asset for that matter, at one price, behind the scenes, and then reporting that they sold it at a higher price or a lower price, and they're just hoping that the person that they sold it to at the real price just keeps his mouth shut so no one figures it out?
Well, I'm saying that the order books where prices are created, those order books are literally not open source. We have no way of verifying that those prices are actually true. Like I said, this is conspiracy land to some degree. What's this have to do with Dash, though, other than multiplying your Dash and giving cacao value? Well, it has to do with Dash because there is some amount of, what am I trying to say? There is some chance that these prices that are given to us by centralized exchanges could be manipulated because we don't know what their order books are actually doing. They could just be giving us bad data.
And so you're saying if for whatever reason Dash or any asset is in the negative case, not in the favor of that exchange, we didn't take them on enough golf trips, we didn't take them on enough yacht trips, then perhaps they could report a lower price for.
Yeah, and I think that is not likely, but it's definitely possible. And I'm not experienced enough to talk about the details of price manipulation and what goes on in centralized exchanges. All I know is it's not open source like a decentralized exchange is, where a decentralized exchange, we know exactly that those prices are actually happening on the market, and that the price is like it's verifiable. And so in the future, I want
basically, long story short, if there is an avenue for abuse, then it probably will be abused by someone sooner or later. And so given that these order books are closed source, that is an avenue for abuse. So we can at least have like a soft suspicion that sooner or later that route will be taken. So better to just not rely on it.
Yeah, exactly. And so if you just step back again with the market capitalization of Dash, the amount of Dash in circulation is verifiable. The price is not verifiable so long as we're getting those price signals from centralized exchanges. But if we can get to a point where we have price signals and circulating supply that are both completely verifiable, then we will know that the market capitalization calculation is a market phenomenon and not something that's potentially manipulated by centralized exchanges. And like we started off, it's very important. That number, that market cap, is the number one data point that people look to for the viability of a project. Yes. And I'm kind of sick of I'm sick of Dash being so low in market capitalization compared to the utility and what I perceive as the value of this project. And there is some non-zero chance that there is manipulation going on in the centralized exchanges. And I want to build towards a future where that's just not possible, because most of the volume is actually going through verifiable decentralized exchanges like Maya. So that's my big tangent motivation for why Maya is important enough to focus many episodes on and developer attention to. So let's see. PME asks, roughly speaking, what is the current volume handled on Maya as compared to Thorchain? I don't know. That's something that we can look up. I would probably venture to guess that it's something like 10% or less. where volume and total value locked in the protocol is probably less than 10% of Thorchain. But that doesn't, I'm not too concerned about Maya versus Thorchain. We're all in the same team as far as that goes, because they're both decentralized and public open source projects.
Okay, so let's talk then about what is Incubator doing to move this effort forward to start getting, in this case, Maya, but yeah, Maya more relevant in our ecosystem so that the prices reported of Dash and of other coins in that ecosystem start to become more relevant?
Yeah, so there are a few things that first, one thing to report is that just as a status update, we recently, if people remember, Maya started by requiring 6 Genesis nodes. And the Genesis nodes were like trusted entities that were running nodes to bootstrap the ecosystem in a trusted way before Cacao had enough value to be backed by economic backing of Cacao and whatnot. And so Dash was one of those 6 Genesis nodes. And the process was that the Genesis nodes would start and everything would be running through those 6 Genesis nodes. So if you trusted those Genesis nodes to not steal your money, then you could trust the system. And it had nothing really to do with economics necessarily. It just had to do with who are these 6 Genesis nodes and do I trust them so that 2/3 of them won't collude to steal the Bitcoin or the Ethereum or whatever that is in the pools, because they could have. But now the status update is that our Genesis node has churned out of the pool of validators and won't be going back in as a Genesis node anymore. So our job with the incubator, one of our jobs was to do the integration, the actual coding work. The other one of the other jobs was to run one of these Genesis nodes. That job is done, like the coding is more or less done, and the running of the Genesis node is also done. And now the Maya validators are, I think, almost exclusively what's called now liquidity nodes, where they're backed by the liquidity that those nodes are bonding. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in to answer your question about what the incubator can be doing. But that's the status update, is that the Genesis node is done, and now the validators are all liquidity bonded nodes. So that brings us to the first thing that we can do as a Dash community to continue contributing to this ecosystem, and that is to start running a liquidity node. So I don't know if how many people are interested in this, but and let's see, I don't know. Yeah, let's turn back to my screen for a minute here. I'm gonna go over to the network tab, mayascan.org/network, and let's see how many nodes are actually securing the network now. I don't see a summary number, but if you just add these up, it's probably, oh, let's see. So this many nodes, these are all the nodes, and I would probably estimate that's about 20 or 30. I don't know why it doesn't, let's see. 20 active validators, 21, and 15 standby validators. What are these validators, and what part can we play with this? The 21 active validators, these are, if you think about it in terms of Dash, this would be comparable to the amount of master nodes. So instead of 4,000-ish or 3,500 master nodes that are basically in control of the network. It's 21 in the case of Maya, and there are 15 backup that are standby that churn in and churn out on a certain time frame. So you can see this little countdown clock here, 9 hours 44 minutes till the next churn. And when the next churn happens, that basically what that means is there are one or more nodes that get sent from being active validators to being on standby. And so like the oldest node in the set, or the one with the least bond in the set.
So does this say how much they're being paid, and how would we interact?
This is the bond. This is sorted by the amount of bond, and you can see that this is in units of cacao. So this one, the highest bonded node is 1.8 or 1.9 million cacao, and with cacao being close to about $1 now, that's about $2 million. So that's a higher value than a master node, for example. But if you scroll down to the bottom here, there is, this one looks like some kind of an outlier. This might be a Genesis node that's still just straggling. But this one, 380,000. So 380,000 cacao, which is roughly $380,000 worth. You could be a validator node in the Maya network. So there's
like a threshold, like you need to meet or exceed the capital bonded by the existing nodes in order to begin competing to be a validator?
Yes, because it's not like the Dash network where anybody can just put a certain number of Dash and then you can be a master node. That's not how it works in this network. In this network, you're competing to be the highest bonded node. So
okay,
and it looks like the minimum amount here is about $380,000. So don't even think about it if you don't have $380,000 worth of cacao / other assets. And one thing to note here is that this is not just cacao. I believe it's denominated in cacao, but in reality, it's what you're bonding is you're bonding both your cacao and the assets that you have in liquidity pools. So let's say that you have like 400,000 or 200,000 cacao in a pool, and whatever amount of Dash that would equate to, so $200,000.
Are you suggesting that the Dash community pool its funds to run a node and somehow split the proceeds?
I haven't got there, but thanks for pushing me there. I'm suggesting that we as a community could do this, and that the incubator could facilitate this in the sense of running the node. So like now, we ran the Genesis node. And so we have experience running one of these validator nodes, which consists of running clients for all of the connected coins. Like, I'm not sure if my screen is being shared still, but when you run one of these validators, you're running a Bitcoin node, a Ethereum node, a Rune node, and a Dash node and a Kuji node. And so that's a lot of work. And the incubator, specifically Alex and Ash, have figured out how to do all this. And so one of the things that we've discussed is the possibility of continuing to run one of these nodes, but instead of running it as a Genesis node, running it as a bonded node. And then one other thing that I haven't talked about yet is that you can delegate to create this bond. So instead of one person having all of this cacao or liquidity units required to run this and to get in the runnings to being an active validator, you can split it up into 8 parts total. So let's look at this 800,000 one. Instead of one person having 800,000 cacao worth of bond, you could find 8 different people who have $100,000 worth of bond and all get together and create one of these nodes, kind of like a shared master node. But it's actually, in this case, you don't actually have to send any money to the person that's running this, which is called the node operator. You don't actually have to send your bond to that person. You just delegate it as a like you point the
It's almost like a mining pool. You have the machine, but you point your okay.
Yes.
And do you happen to know, is 8 the maximum number of ways that a node can be divided?
Yeah, I think that is the number, and I can verify that, but I'm almost 100% sure that it is 8. So that's the one thing that I wanted to kind of suggest or talk about, or at least just introduce to people, is we have an opportunity that if people are interested, the incubator could spin this node back up, and instead of like the Genesis just running it, we would have to have it bonded by a certain number of cacao, like I was showing, and the incubator could run the node, and then whoever is interested in delegating their bond, their liquidity units toward this node, then we would just have to arrange that. So, but in terms of like running it, the node, I know that Alex and Ash were running it on AWS infrastructure, but we would probably want to go more with a bare metal approach where we have full control over the node infrastructure itself. And instead of having it on AWS, we would probably try to have it with AJ has experience with running bare metal infrastructure, and we have access to a data center here in Utah that I've actually physically seen the servers, and so that's one option, is we could save a lot of money by doing it that way instead of paying AWS and having the risk of all the nodes running out of AWS. So that's one thing that I would suggest. So we would combine the skill that Alex has acquired, but with running the node, with AJ's experience with the bare metal infrastructure, and have the incubator run one of these validator nodes, and then whoever in the community is interested in bonding or delegating their bond to this node, we could do that if people are interested.
Okay. And then is there a lockup time, as James Joe is asking here, that they should be prepared to put the capital in for?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
So
you'd like to gauge whether there's even enough interest before beginning to discuss such details. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And then is it safe to say you'd be looking for a maximum and minimum of 8 people, or at least a minimum of 8 people, because that's what you need to get it started. Unless, of course, I guess somebody has enough capital that they'd want to contribute multiple shares worth.
Yeah, and if we had more than enough to do 2 nodes, then we could do that as well.
Okay. What am I saying? Yeah. Okay, great.
So I'm just saying, like, I would probably want more people involved, just to have more people involved. But if we have a few players that are, very, they have a lot of resources and they're interested in this, then we could definitely do more than 1 node.
So presumably people should reach out to you if they are interested to start talking about this potential. Reach out to you personally.
Yeah, I mean, just on the public channels, just have maybe open a discussion about it. So that's the one thing that I wanted to bring up. And then the other thing is, we're also going to we had some chatter in the Maya Protocol channel about Incubator has a web wallet, and I've seen a lot of poor user experiences regarding some of the other wallets that are in the ecosystem, and I just don't want that to turn people off towards contributing here. So yeah, we are going to be making an integration with Maya and our web wallet. So if people want just a Dash focused user experience for this, both on the liquidity provision side, adding liquidity to a Maya pool, and obviously withdrawing when they want. There's no lockup period for that, for sure. Or in addition to that, bonding to this node that we talked about, running one of these validator nodes, and then having people bond their liquidity units to the node, then we will be supporting that whole experience through our incubator wallet.
And
that will be 100% open source.
Mhm.
And I know that there are some people that wanted this to have a fee, so that we could help fund this through fees instead of just treasury funding.
Mhm.
But I'm open to either approach. We would probably just make it an optional fee that people could pay or not pay if they don't want to do that. So it'd be optional. But one important thing would be that this would be 100% open source, which I don't believe. In fact, I'm pretty sure that they're not. The Eldorado and Thor Wallet UIs, I do not believe are open source. And so as much as I would love to trust that everything is 100% honest and whatnot, it does give you a little bit more assurance if you can see the source code and see that it's not changing or something like that.
Well, and not only that, but then if someone who can do a better job than Incubator can do with the wallet, they can just fork it and make their own and do better, right?
Yeah, and the more the merrier on this kind of thing. So
Yeah.
that's what I would encourage as well.
So is there any, when web wallet, Ryan? When?
Well, the web wallet's already active. It's just not something that we've promoted because we haven't done like a thorough security audit or anything like that. So we're not promoting it yet, but it is functional, and it has an interesting username experience that's not tied to platform necessarily, but it's tied to XPubs. So that's something that we were developing for quite a while. And now that we have that and we have the basic functionality of a wallet, it's very straightforward to add this Maya integration. We also did code some specific things so that we could do these op return memos that Maya requires. And so that's all done, and it's all working. It's just not something that we've brought into the wallet itself. So we have right now what we have is a separate tool that's that we were building along with the Eldorado team to help them use some of our code to build their wallet. And so we had to do that for them, for that support anyway. But now we're going to take some of that code, instead of having it in the standalone, just very small application that was kind of more of a proof of concept that, our infrastructure was working, like the wallet transaction creation and stuff like that was working. Now we're going to bring it into the incubator wallet itself. And like I said, like we still need to have some kind of security audit done on this, or at least some other eyeballs on it before we're comfortable promoting it to the community. So that'll take some time, but yeah.
I would say Godspeed to that for sure, because for some, I don't know how you phrased it earlier in the show when you said something like questions that someone like you has, Amanda. But yes, someone like me also has been intimidated somewhat by, first of all, when I found out that Maya is not a front end, but is rather a back end, and I have to choose my own front end. And not only do I have to choose my own front end, I have to make the right choice. And then I have to find their website. I have to hope to God I can find their tutorials for someone of my understanding level. And just that bit alone is is enough of a turnoff that if someone were to come to me and say instead, like, oh no, there's just the integration to use Maya is just right in your Dash wallet. You just clickety click right from within your Dash wallet. That would be a big help for me.
Yeah, and I know that DCG is working on Maya integrations as well. But I heard that there were potentially some issues with at least the Apple Store trying to
be Apple-y?
Be Apple-y, yeah, exactly. And trying to keep DEX related apps out of the store. And I don't know if that, I do know that it's real, that's a real issue, because Brian Foster confirmed that that's what Apple was saying. But I also know that there are currently some lawsuits out, or at least legal challenges to Apple's approach to keeping DEXs out from other teams that are not related to Dash. But like, I can't remember who it was, but one of the other players in the DEX space was raising legal defenses against Apple's decision there. But regardless, like, the web is always, or at least we hope, going to be a free and open place to innovate, and so our web wallet won't be affected by that.
Okay.
And Android is also not affected by that, as far as I know. But it's always, you can always bet on the web. Just like websites is always going to be an accessible point. It's not as convenient for some people, like, that want mobile apps and whatnot. But eventually, our web app will be packageable in both web and mobile and desktop experience. That's a little bit further down the road, but that's the priority that we've decided to go with building our wallet, is to go web first and then package it as mobile apps and desktop apps as well.
Okay. Well, and speaking of eventualities, we have at least one case study in the past in which we can say eventually the Apple people relent and allow the Dash app into their app store, as happened with the DCG issued Dash mobile wallet in the past.
I think that'll be likely, that they will eventually get through, but it might take a little while.
Yeah, cool. All right. Well, so I'm super looking forward to this, auditing process that you said needs to happen being completed. And I think that the idea to start integrating this Maya stuff into the Incubator web wallet and then further wallets afterward is a great idea. And then, the notion of like a community run bonding node, that is, that could potentially, I hadn't thought of that. So
and just one thing about the security audit, I'm not necessarily suggesting that we go and pay some firm to do a third-party audit. I mostly mean, like, having developers in our community take some time to look at it and and to use it. So the best auditing that you can have is to just, open it up and have people
try to lose some money.
Exposed to losing some money in the real world, but just using it to a small degree for quite a while first. So that for sure is at least what we would want to do. I mean, we're open to having an actual audit, but it's one of those things where it's like, do you have money for it?
Okay, right on. All right, well, that does it for us today. Children, thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks.
Bye.